So essentially, we start from nothing. We start from ground zero. We have no book of business. We have no customers to call. We are raw. We have no distractions. We have no excuse. Let's go and get it. Our whole time, we just spent just banging the phones and knocking on doors, seeing if we can get the phone ring and get the door to swing, as one may say. You get to grow organically with your people. And so we don't lose too many customers, hardly any, because we got to start with them from the beginning. Another advantage, which I don't really like to confess, but I'm going to anyway, was I don't think I could have taken a payment my first 2 months of being an agent. I didn't know how to.
Hey, welcome back to Like-Minded Servants with me, Cecil Graves, where leaders and entrepreneurs come to get better every day. I finally was able to get a guest I've been wanting to get on here since before I started the podcast. He's just he's a powerful social media presence. He is an insurance agent like me. I'm not going to take too much of his background and too much of his flame. So I'd like to introduce Mr. Chris Mathurin. Welcome today, man. We're so happy to have you on here.
Oh man, thank you very much, man. I'm excited to be on here, obviously, mate. You know, I've been following your story too and watching you just crush it out there. So thanks for having me on, man. I'm ready to take time out of the equation to get on this show, mate. Let's make it happen.
Yeah, you got such a powerful story from the times I've talked to you, to listening to your social media content on Instagram, to listening to your podcast this morning, seeing what you do with your family, team, your dad, your brother. Like, you kind of encompass family so well to me. But before we just jump to that, give the audience an idea of where you came from. Like, how did you even got to the United States up until now becoming one of the best agents in the company?
Yeah, so I've got to give a lot of thanks to my older brother, Andy. He came out here on a basketball scholarship to play at Oral Roberts University back in 1999. And he was the one that took me under his wing from a young age, playing basketball at a very high level. So I got to go against him. He was 5 years older than me, so I was always playing against men. So I was in the top of my class in England. So as I continued to progress, I turned professional when I was 14 years old in England. And, you know, did that for a while, represented my country, England, and got to tour around Europe. And then the next step was to make it to the States. So he called back home after being here for a year, said, Chris, you won't believe it. Americans love it when you play sports and they give you something called a scholarship. Why don't you come on over and check it out? So I went and spoke to my parents, but unfortunately they weren't made of money. You know, we're from a middle-class family. They worked hard all around the clock. So they scraped together their money and they put me on a plane when I was just 16 years old. So it was just me, 2 suitcases, and a dream to make it in America. Because the reality is I knew if I wouldn't have made it, I would have had to go back to England. And unfortunately, I wasn't a straight A student by any means. I'll leave that for your imagination. So I came out here and then I had 2 weeks to find a high school. That's how long my temporary visa was coming out here. So I jumped in a car with one of my brother's teammates and he took me around to high schools. And it's kind of like an Oliver Twist thing. Please, sir, can I have some more? But instead, I was asking for a scholarship to stay and a visa to stay here at high school. So, you know, God opened the doors and just a big blessing, got me hooked up with Wright Christian Academy, a small prep school here in Tulsa. And I just started playing basketball out here. And it was great, man. I was welcomed by the American people. The beautiful country people here is a little bit more rural here than what I'm accustomed to. I'm from more of a seaside town resort. Did 2 years. And as you see on social media, I've got a daughter who's an ESPN top 50 kid. That wasn't me. You know, I barely scraped by, you know. So I took my first full ride scholarship, which was a small NAIA school. In small one in Oklahoma, went there for 4 years. And the first year I was enjoying myself like most freshmen do, right? Having a good, jolly old time, as one may say. But then the light bulb clicked off. I was like, hold on a minute. I've only got 4 years here. If I don't take this serious and get a good degree, I don't think I can play basketball till I'm 65 years old. At some point, the knees in the back give out, right? So I really knuckled down and started for the first time in my life applying myself to my education. And so 4 years later, I got a degree in business administration, minor in finance, met my beautiful wife at school, another great blessing. And then we had Mackenzie as soon as I graduated. And so now I've got my degree and I'm just ready to go. You know, I'm this stallion of confidence of a man. And so I go out to the workforce to find a job and I can't get a job. Can't get hired. Nobody would give me a job because I was in between visa status at the time. So at this time, I found myself, my wife was a breadwinner, making $17,500 a year in a bank. And I was sitting at home just waiting for the food stamps to come in for a very short period of time, of course. And I was like, man, something's got to give. So I went to a career fair. It was my last chance. I've been turned down so many times, and there was about 50 different opportunities there. And I promise you, Cecil, no exaggeration, 49 of them weren't interested. And the last one who was interested was the one that said car sales. I had my dad's suit on. I'd walked 2 miles to get to this job fair. This was my last chance, man. And they gave me an opportunity in America to have my first job, which was selling cars. And so start off selling cars, right? I had no idea. I don't know how to change a tire at this point. I would have no idea to change oil. I knew nothing about cars, but I knew a couple of things. The American people like it when you be yourself. And the American people can appreciate a person with integrity and character. So just be honest, right? Just be yourself. So I was like, okay, I'm going to be myself. I'm going to be honest. And before you knew it, I sold all these cars. I wasn't the best, but I was kind of just above average. Got a promotion into finance. And I was like, what's going on here, mate? I couldn't believe it. After 3 months of selling cars, I got my first promotion. I said, well, maybe it's because I'm black, I'm English, and I got white teeth. They're just not accustomed to that. I'm like, what? I said, well, maybe it's because I'm good. I wasn't that good. So, or maybe it was just God looking out for me, opening another door for me, right? So I went into finance, mate, and I kid you not, we went from making $1,500 a month to buku bucks, mate. It was amazing, man. So I became one of the top finance producers over the next couple of years in the state and then in the region. I was ranked top, and my main claim to fame is keeping it very simple. I just did what I was told to do: follow the word tracks, follow the systems, follow the processes, and always put the customer first. So I followed the top, hit about year 5, and then another light bulb went off, mate. What is the point in making all this money if you have no time to spend it with your family? I mean, I didn't have a great relationship with my daughter, which is fine because my beautiful, amazing wife was doing such a good job raising her. But now I've got a son, okay, and I've got another boy on the way, and I didn't really feel that connection. I was like, man, I've got to find something. Otherwise, I don't feel like I'm going to be able to keep my family together because I just wasn't around. Yeah, it's great making all this money, but what if you're not around for your family? So I started researching these different opportunities, and insurance seemed like the best. And like a good neighbor, as one may say, number one company out there. It was the hardest company to even get a coffee with, more or less an interview. So I was like, there's something special about this. God opened another door, and next thing you know, opened up an agency from scratch, from nothing, new market, which means you don't start with any customers. So I went back on food stamps just for a short while, okay, just for a short while, to open up this great blessing of an agency. And 11 years later, man, just so many blessings, and we can talk about it more.
So, Chris, I kind of hearing you go, similar to me is sitting at that dealership, sitting at that finance desk, probably just like you did, and looking around going, oh man, I got my pros and cons in front of me. I had looked at State Farm as well and reflected and just put down all that it could provide and what it could measure up to, and then what the dealership was doing. And the only thing on the dealership column was a big money sign, right? So it was going to be the same thing for me. The cat's in the cradle with the silver spoon, and your kids missing out on your life, you missing out on their life. So that's cool that you said that, and that our paths have kind of aligned at this point, that we were both in the car business. We both finance managers at the store, but realized it's not all about money, that we can certainly find something that we can do and love. And if we do the right things, we don't have to chase the money. The money ultimately will chase us. There's a lot I love about you, and thank you for sharing that story. One thing that seems pretty constant, though, in everything that you do, besides the energy and enthusiasm, which is pretty awesome. If you guys aren't following Chris on Instagram, I'll get him to share his contact and stuff at the end. But it's very, I don't know, you're filling a spot that Grant Cardone, Ed Milet, Tony, all these guys are filling for me that we need daily. And you have those little bursts of energy. But one main thing I see you doing is serving daily. You get up and you go wherever you've got to go, whether you're at the gym like we were this morning, or at the house or at the office, but you show up and serve. What makes you do that? Why are you like that? What do you get out of that?
Yeah, I think most important thing, man, it's about community, right? It's about being with the people. You know, we've got an option every day. Do we want to sit back at our desk and wait for it to come to us, or do we want to go out there and make an impact? And I'm just a believer. You know, I was never great at math growing up in England, but you're either adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing. You know, in life, period. And I want to be that person. At least I want to add to people's life. If I can multiply, I'm going to do that. And you know, no pun intended, but I think it just comes down to being a good neighbor, right? If you can't take care of your neighbors across the street or next door, then how are you going to take care of other people? And so every day when I go out there, I want to bring value. I want to add, you know, I want to multiply and just make a difference. You know, bottom line is when it's all said and done, no one's going to remember how much money you made or what promotion you got or what accolade or award you got. They're going to remember, did you actually show up when you said you was going to show up? And so I want to lead by example. You know, be out there and make an impact in my community and leave it a better place every single day than what it started with. And I just feel like if you do that consistently over a period of time, then you're going to make the biggest impact you possibly can, you know?
Yeah, I totally agree. And do you feel like it's compartmentalized for the office, or is it easier to make it where you do that everywhere you go in every part of your life?
Well, often speak to people when they ask me like, "Hey, you know, well, you know, how do how do I prioritize how I run my business? You know, what should I do?" And so I respond to that is, "What do you like doing? Right? What do you enjoy doing? You know, if you don't enjoy being around a whole bunch of people, then maybe you shouldn't put yourself in a position to be around a whole bunch of people. But I love being around people. I love building relationships. You know, so that's just life. That's not office. That's just life. You know, and it
Mm,
can be something as simple as showing up to your kids' basketball games or football games or whatever it is. And so I'll give you an example. Um, you can be on the field, you know, getting an award, or you can be in the stands with the people. I'd rather be in the stands with all the people, period. Building relationships, you know, messing around and all that stuff. That's just kind of how I move and how I operate.
mhm.
So when I say that I hold the record in our company for most gym memberships, I've got like 5 or 6 gym memberships. It's not because my dream is to have a six pack. I may get to a five and a half pack. I don't think I'm ever get to a six pack. It's not that at all. I like to work out. I like to stay in shape. So when I go to these different gyms, some more than the others, like I've got a jujitsu gym, for example,
Mhm.
and then I've got a workout gym, and then got my kids gym. I'm doing that and I'm building relationships at the same time. So then my question for other people is, what do you like to do? What do you enjoy to do? And then go ahead and put your marketing program or your proactive approach program around those things that you enjoy to do. Maybe serving in the school, you know, maybe all types of different things, maybe a book club or whatever it may be. Find out what you enjoy to do and then do that. And then it doesn't matter. You don't have to draw a line. Is it work? Is it play? No, this is life, you know?
Yeah, I love that. And you're going to places where other people like to do that too. So you happen to be at a place with people that like to do the same things you do. Kind of crazy.
100%, 100%. And I've got a little bit of a strange rule that I use when it comes to business. I don't go to these places saying, "Hey, you want to save some money on your insurance," you
Yeah.
know, or wearing a big shirt saying, "Hey, I'm Jake from State Farm." I'm not doing that. You know, I'm going there to build genuine relationships and get my bloody workout on me. You know what I
Mm.
mean? However, if they ask me what I do for a living, that's an indicator of interest, my friend. I'm going to tell them what I do for a living. If they show interest, bing, bang, boozy, mate. They'll probably have insurance on me the next day.
That's right. I speak a lot about community characters, and you are the definition of a community character. It's they don't come to Chris a lot of times for State Farm. They come to Chris because of Chris, because of the energy and the thing that you're doing in your community. I don't want to walk off because I think it's important. I don't want to walk off from the car industry and people think that me and you look down on it or look at it negatively because there's somebody out there in an industry right now that's grinding and hurting. I want to talk about what the car industry, and I can share from my side too with you. But how big of a blessing was that? As tough as that industry is, the time it consumes, the relationships and things, but how big of a blessing was that industry for you?
Huge. Couple of different reasons. Number one, I'm not saying I wouldn't be in the position I am without the car business, but the car business gave me an incredible foundation of to build to where I'm at. You know, when people say all the time, "Oh, I wish I would have heard about this sooner. I wish I would have done this." Now, I'm glad that God gave me the route that I went on
Mm.
because it gave me an opportunity to learn and grow and then prepare me for my next season in life, you know? So to give you a specific example, with the dealership I came from, Jim Norton Toyota, number one most important factor was the customer, period. Customer needs was always put first. Taking care of the customer was the most important thing. And what the owner used to say was, there's no point having a business if that name on the front isn't respected because of the way they conduct business, or whatever it is, the reputation of their dealership. And then so you break down the reputation is how customers are treated and served after the sale. Because everyone's going to be your best friend time of sale or before the sale, right? But how's the customer treated after the sale? That really dictates on the true macro perspective experience for the customer. And that's what I brought straight into, our insurance business for sure. And so, yeah, the car business taught me a lot about that. On the flip side of it, the car industry taught us a lot. Look, you got two groups of people. We've got the go-getters and the people that are just going to complain in the corner. So I had to identify real early on, and this is any business, right?
Mm.
If you sit in that crowd who are complainers, negative, naysayers, and you get caught up in there, you're probably not going to have the success or the progress or the growth you want. But then you got your other type of people too. So who you surround yourself with in the business that you're in or the sales industry you're in can have a direct correlation to the success that you have. So it taught me a lot about that, being in the car business. So for sure. What did it teach you in the car business? What's some of your biggest takeaways?
Um, how to read people was one of the biggest. Just the You almost calibrate people when you're dealing with them so that you are the professional in the relationship, so you handle them in a proactive manner that benefits them. Now, I'm not going to say early in my sales career I did the best being a younger salesperson. I started at 15, 16, started selling cars. So there's a lot of things you just don't know. You're not mature. But overall, it's about serving people, meeting them where they're at, and realizing in 2011 that I had to filter even who I'm serving. So my customer base had to go more towards the Denali or the higher level customers because I found that they appreciated a relationship more than a base model pickup truck customer a lot of times. So it gave me a perspective where I sat down and I told my dad, I said, hey, on some of these people that are just super difficult that we're giving trucks away at invoice, it makes more sense for me to start filtering and giving those to salespeople so they can learn on them. And I really take my small amount of energy that I have and devote it to the customers that appreciated me more, and plus that were helping me, grow my family financially. And it was probably 6 months later, Chris, the Harvard Business Review wrote an article almost to that exact effect, that you can't make everybody happy. I quickly learned a term: some will, some won't. So what next? So, and as harsh as it is, that you're a human being, you're a dad, you're a husband, you're a leader, you're a person. So, and sometimes customers are tough, and they don't look at you as a person because you're taking their money and giving them a vehicle. But as hard as that industry is, it was a huge blessing for this one. We both started scratch. You want to talk a little bit about that? What that means? Like most State Farm agents, they start with 2.5 in a book of business, $1 million book of business, and they have funds to get rolling. Versus you and I, we sold them this deal on taking us on a whole different way. I'm guessing if you took a scratch agency as well.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a great question there. So let me paint the picture for you, right? I go to internship class, and we have the biggest class at that time. Since then, there's been bigger classes. I think there's 45 of us in internship class. As I walk through there and introduce everyone, about the first breakout, which is about 30 minutes later, we had just a break, and everyone started coming up to me and saying how brave I was. And I was just like, huh, why are they saying how brave I was? And then a couple of people put their hand on my head and just started praying for me, And I said, why is this person praying for me? I was like, and they said, because you're going scratch. And I was like, well, what are you going? And then, well, we're going to book a business. I'm like, what's the difference? Now, I'm not saying it wasn't told to me the route I was going. at that point, I didn't care. I just wanted out the car business so I could spend more time on my family. So I'm sure it was disclosed to me, but I'm in internship class and I signed up for something that I didn't really know there was another opportunity. I think what happened was they offered me a scratch agency and I just walked out the door and started driving around my town trying to find an agency. I didn't know there was another option. So essentially, we start from nothing. We start from ground zero. We have no book of business to market through. We have no customers to call to bring in for reviews. We are raw, less rock and roll sausage roll. However, it does come with some benefits too. You don't have the phone ringing from day one. Now that can be scary to some people, but for me, we have no distractions. We have no excuse. Let's go and get it. Our whole time we just spent just banging the phones and knocking on doors, seeing if we can get the phone ring and get the door to swing, as one may say, right? Another advantage of it is you get to grow organically with your people. And so we don't lose too many customers. Hardly any, because we got to start with them from the beginning and build that genuine relationship from the beginning. So we've got customers that have been with us for 11 years now. So there's some advantages. Another advantage, which I don't really like to confess, but I'm going to anyway, was I don't think I could have taken a payment my first 2 months of being an agent. I didn't know how to.
Yeah.
I wasn't a team member. I didn't have any experience. I didn't know how to make changes, or sure, they showed us on a little module in class. I did not know anything. That's another award I should have got. Not knowing squat as a State Farm agent from day one. That was me. I don't know how they let me out of internship class. Thanks, guys. It paid off, but for you guys probably. But I appreciate you guys letting me through. So yeah. So it's obviously pros and cons, but you got your friend down the street that starts with a big book of business, and you start from nothing. Hey, now it's time to rock and roll, sausage roll. But it built a mentality in my mind, and I heard this saying: most people eat their soup with a spoon. I had to eat my soup with a fork, and so did my team, which basically means for us to get the same amount of soup, we got to go 10 times harder. And because we're going 10 times harder and it's falling through the cracks, we're not getting hungry. So we stayed hungry, Cecil. We got after it, mate. And we had that same mentality today where some people may have slowed down just a little bit throughout the seasons, not us, because that's how we started and that's how we're going to finish, mate.
Yeah, that's strong. That's stronger than my story for sure. I'll just share with you after 4 months into this, we're rolling, and the fella that hired me came in, and he's got his agenda of things to go over to monitor me once a month or every other week, however often we met. And a couple of carriers were telling people that they didn't need uninsured motorists in Louisiana, and so I stopped him and I said, "Hey, honestly, if we got time to get to that, but can you teach me what uninsured motorist is?" He stopped and he said, "Oh my gosh, dude, how did you make it all the way through internship and 5 months into your agency?" And I said, "I just need an explanation. Just help a brother out, man."
He can teach you how to do uninsured motorists. You can teach him how to close, right?
That's right. That's right. I can show him Cardone if he can educate me on a product.
There we go. Very, very, very similar boat. Again, the award goes to who didn't know anything. Definitely me, but we had to grow a lot. We made a lot of mistakes. We did, because we don't know what you don't know. But the good thing is we put systems in places to make sure that we don't make those same mistakes moving forward. We missed out on a lot of business in the beginning. My first check mark or checkpoint with leadership was essentially that what I had done so far probably wasn't going to be good enough for me to get my contract. They told me that, and so to walk away from everything we walked away from and knowing there's a chance that we weren't going to get our contracts, you got 1 year to prove yourself back then, right? And they told me that I wasn't good enough, But you can go home and cry about it, or you can say, you know what, take it on the chin. Hey, I'm going to bounce back even stronger, So it took time to get there, but those foundations built for the strong foundation we have today, and I'm sure the same for you too. And I know you've done an outstanding job in your business, mate. I know you're a humble man, but congratulations to you. You've done very well.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we both probably mirror that. We have incredible teams. The rising tides need to raise a bunch of ships, not just me and Chris. And you've kind of led into it a little bit, but I don't want people thinking we made it here and we're on a podcast and this path was just easy. I think you'd agree, like, this was the most insane, hard thing I've ever done in my entire life. And it may be because I grew up in a family business and just, learned from training wheels to leaving, the dealership at 36. But would you agree? Like it's kind of insane starting a business, not knowing a thing about it, like you said, and what it does to you mentally, to you and your family. Do you have any experiences or stories you want to share that were just like a very heavy?
Yeah, I still feel like 11 years later, there's still hard days, right? You still have
Yeah.
things that come up that you have to navigate through, and everything. There's no finish line in this career, you know. I remember specifically being probably right at the halfway point of my first year and looking up, and I had 16 members, and five of them had either transitioned off, quit, left, or whatever it is, and I had one team member left, and I was like, wow, I held it all together. I was that big, strong foundation of a man. However, I essentially felt like I came to my breaking point. You know, like I've been knocked on the chin so many times. Can I still get up? Is how I felt. You know, and so I was able to keep the game face on to my one employee. And as I was driving home that night, I came to a light. And for the first time in my life, I started feeling the symptoms of anxiety and stress and pressure, and not knowing if I can hold it in. And I felt like as a breaking point where I could literally have a breakdown. Never had a breakdown before, but I felt like is this what a breakdown feels like? And right there, I was at a 50-50. And I just literally felt like, you talk about this, I felt like I had an angel on my right shoulder and the devil on my left shoulder. The devil was saying, Chris, just break down. It's okay. Go home, pick up a bottle and drink the whole thing. Just, it's okay, lay down. I had the angel on my side saying, suck it up, buttercup. You need to push through this. This is nothing. Come on, you can do it. And I was right at a 50-50. And the Bible verse came in my mind, Romans 8:31. If God is for us, who can be against us?
Mm.
And I was like, wow. So I flicked the devil off my shoulder and I was like, man, I'm going this way. The next day I had a customer come to my office and he asked to pray for my office, and he reminded me, it's like God sent this person to me because he looked just like my granddad. And I've got a great relationship with my 95-year-old granddad, who's an immigrant from the Caribbean, who came to England and paved the way for my whole family. And so God sent me this person that looked just like my granddad. So I was like, yeah, I'll take anything right now. Yeah.
Wow.
So he started praying in tongues and everything like that. I haven't really got to experience tongues, but I was like, whatever it takes. I put my arm around him. I started shouting whatever he was shouting, like whatever we need to do right now. And from that day forward, man, when I felt like the blessing of God in my business, like we've never kind of looked back. So there's been some ups and downs, but there's never been that I'm going to break down feeling, and that was just like a big turning, big learning opportunity, big growth, spiritual opportunity for me.
Yeah, that's powerful. And how he aligns, like for you to have that angelic view and be ready for God to serve you in that moment and realize it and not just be completely clueless, like who's this crazy person in my office, but having open arms that are, hey man, I need this right now. Thank you for being here. And that he thinks enough of you to put someone in your life right at that moment when you needed it most. That's a powerful love. All right, we've come to about the halfway point on our episode. We're going to come right back with Chris in our next episode to hear the rest of his story and finish up on some family info, what he does with his family. Chris, let's wrap up for this episode. As always, thanks for listening. If you found value today in our convo, please make sure to like and share our page. Give us 5 stars. That's how we grow. That's how we get Chris's story out there. Until next time, folks, go serve someone well today so we all get better together.